Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Welcome back. Okay, so I'm going to tell this story. And I'm telling this story because it's actually taking a load off of me. And I want people who have children or are thinking about having children to be aware of, some of the things that can happen. And I know that this story, could possibly, help different families. Um, So around this specific time, I might have been 10, but I believe I was younger, so I could have been around like 8 or 9. A little bit of background before I jump into the story is, me, my sibling, and my 3 cousins, we used to stay with my grandma often. And we were normal kids. Like, my grandmother had a big, beautiful yard, and we enjoyed, riding our bikes, climbing trees, doing what kids is supposed to do. And, you know, we loved that. It was always, on the days that we didn't have school, we was always looking forward, or even when we got out of school, we was always looking forward to coming home, riding our bikes, climbing trees. We used to play like detective and stuff and find mysteries in the woods. I was a child. And so this particular day, um, I'm trying to like slow my breathing down because I feel like I'm getting anxiety. Just having to, just thinking back. So this particular day, I don't know where my sibling was, and I don't know where my 3 cousins were, and why I was the only one there. I'm not sure. But another older cousin had came to visit, and when this particular cousin came around, I would do my best to try to stay away from him because he had 2 fingers that weren't developed. I believe it was the ring finger and the middle finger. They weren't developed. So as a kid, not understanding, not being aware of why that happened, I just know that his fingers were different, and he terrified me. He scared me really, really bad. So when he came around, I made it my business to stay away from him, stay far away from him because I was scared. And when he came, I just remember, running outside, to go play or whatever. And I was about to climb a tree, and he came outside, and he's like, oh, I had this game I want you to play. And he's like real excited about this game that he wanted me to play. And, I automatically froze. Like, no, that's okay. I don't want to play, the game because I don't want you nowhere near me. And, I don't know if he knew that I was scared of him. Pretty sure that he did. But he went through that a lot with, different kids and, children his age and things like that. Where people would be scared, because of his hands and stuff like that. When you're a kid, you're not doing research. You're not trying to, oh, well, okay, they're not developed, you're just being children. And when things look different, some kids can be cruel, making fun of you and stuff like that. So I remember he always struggled with trying to get a girlfriend and things like that. And, he was having a hard time with that. So he was dealing with, a lot of things within himself. Now back to the day that he wanted to play a game. And he was just like, trying to make it sound so fun and so cool. My hands are shaking. Um, and I remember, me just saying, no, thank you. I don't want to play a game. And him grabbing me. And, you know, how my grandma's house was in the kitchen, there was like one window. So we were outside playing, and we were right, uh, well, he pulled me and grabbed me, and he put me like right under that window. And, um, he pulled down my shorts and my underwear, and he began. Now, so as soon as he touched me, I immediately started crying and screaming because I was already terrified of him. Then he goes and he pulls down my underwear and my shorts, and I started screaming, and then he began to touch me. And I just remember like my screams and my cries got louder, and I'm telling him to stop because, I've never experienced nothing like that before. But I immediately knew that it was wrong, and so I guess in the middle of him doing that, he's seeing that I was screaming and crying, and that somebody was going to eventually come out and um see what he was doing to me. He kept trying to tell me to be quiet and it's okay. It's just this is just a game, And I just wouldn't stop screaming. I wouldn't stop crying. I wouldn't stop telling him to stop. Maybe like uh 3 to 4 minutes into it, he just stopped and he pulled up, my underwear and my shorts, and he just told me, not to tell anybody or whatever. And I just, nodded my head or whatever. And um, I honestly don't remember what happened after that. I don't remember how I got back into the house. I don't remember any of that. But what I do remember was my two favorite cousins that I was close with. When they eventually came home, I ended up telling them, and they went and told my grandmother. I don't remember my grandmother talking to me about it. I don't remember, um, her calling and talking to his grandmom or anybody. I don't remember none of that. I don't believe that I remember it because it never happened. Normally, with black families or whatever, you're taught that, what goes on in this house stays in this house. Nobody ever talked to me about that. Nobody around that time too. I started developing early, as far as my breasts and stuff like that. So maybe that could have played a part in it. And it's just after that day, I felt horrible. I didn't know exactly what he was doing. I just know he was touching me in places that, was very uncomfortable. And, then the fact that his fingers was like that, I was terrified, and I just began to just withdraw. And I just remember just being a sad kid. Like, you never think that your family members um, would hurt you or make you feel uncomfortable. And I just remember from that day forward, he was never allowed to come back over. He never came over. I didn't see him until about middle school, but that's a whole nother story in itself. But I remember just being so withdrawn, so untrusting of people. Um, my parents were never told. Uh, I never talked about it again. It didn't seem like nobody had my back, and it just didn't seem like I mattered. And I just remember not only was I just withdrawn from everyone, but then I started acting out. I started acting up in school, and nobody would ever ask me, like, what's wrong? People would just think I was just a bad child, and, you know, it was just a really, really bad time, and it's something that, you know, has haunt me, sorry, my words, for a very long time. And like I told you, I couldn't have been no more than 10. I believe I was around 8 or 9. Um, and I'm 32 now, and I still deal with that, still. And I've always been very protective of of the females in my family because I never wanted nobody to experience that. And it was horrible, and I just didn't feel like I mattered. It was just like things happened to me, And it was like, whatever. It's just happening to her. She'll get over it. And I didn't get over it. So to the parents out there, to the people who want to have kids, just be mindful of what your kids is doing. Um, don't leave your kids with people. No matter how comfortable you are with them. Watch your kids. When your kids is outside, watch your kids. Um, even when they're just outside playing with their cousins, watch them, because even though your child might be a good child and don't have no signs of being like that or doing those types of things, you never know what somebody else's child has in mind. So just be mindful and watch your children. Thank you for taking the time to um, watch my video. I'm going to go breathe um, after this and re- regain my thoughts. Um, and for those people that, have similar situations, I'm here for you. No child um, should ever have to go through things like that. And my heart is with you, and it does get better. It does. So, once again, thank you for taking the time to watch my video, and thank you.